Some of the things that were really hurting the Negro community were jealousy, betrayal, and distrust. And we're going to find out why. We're still studying the Chicago community in the 1945 book Black Metropolis by Dr. St. Clair Drake and Horace Caton. Prudence. Although Negroes of all class levels stress individual initiative as a factor in racial advancement, they are keenly aware that as a separate subordinate group in American life, the dice are loaded against the individual, which is why the eventual movement of Negroes towards individualism wasn't the most effective move when wanting to keep the group together. They were too far down below, and the obstacles were way too many to follow that path of the individual. But they walked that path because that's where they were fated to go. Everybody knows that
no matter how high a Negro gets, he's still just a Negro.
Think about what was said. A Negro is still just a Negro. This was the system that Europeans created and the whites kept alive. They invented the box called the Negro, which was meant to keep people at the lowest social status no matter what they achieved. Even with all the material success, people could still feel that way because it was almost like sorcery what they did. It had that much sticking power. Just from this phrase itself, you can see they obviously understood that they were branded as low status. So Negro is just a Negro. It's really a cry out to get from under that spell. Race consciousness breeds a demand for racial solidarity, and as Negroes contemplate their existence as a minority in a white world which spurns them, they see their ultimate hope in presenting some sort of united front against that world, which was their only chance. As individuals move about in the black ghetto among 250,000 people like themselves, and as they think of the 13 million Negroes in America, they fantasy about what Negroes might do if they just stick together. Now, aren't blacks still wishing for this same thing almost 100 years later? Why? Because the same script is still running in the background of their mental operating system. And a lot of people don't know that they've been spinning in the circle because they don't know this history. So each generation thinks that they're doing something new, but it's really the same cycle on repeat. Wishing for unity that will never come, at least not as a whole. But the Negro group is divided into social classes. There are numerous organizations within these social strata, as well as some that cut across class lines. Negroes are not just Negroes, they are upper class and lower class Negroes. Baptist, Methodist, and Holiness Negroes. Shady and respectable. Ambitious and lackadaisical. Watch this. Such divisions along the axis of life other than racial advancement impede the development of solidarity. Meaning all of those other strata created hard divisions that could not be reconciled by race alone. Upper and lower class Negroes were too divided. The Baptists and Methodists were too divided. The shady and the respectable were too divided. That's why unity on the whole couldn't happen. Bronzeville is inclined to blame its woes on lack of unity and to indulge in ritual condemnation of the race itself. This Negroes of all social strata do continually. Sometimes a Negro will deride the race with a touch of humor, such as,
I can't say that I don't like a jig, because I'm one myself, but they sure won't help one another.
Referring to disunity among the jigs or Negroes. More often one hears a spate of simple, serious observations, such as this comment of a hotel waitress.
I know this much. We are divided against one another more than any race in the world.
Sound familiar? This tendency to compare Negroes with other groups is very widespread.
Dagos will help one another. Japs will help one another. Everything but a The Negroes might be able to do something if they would stick together. The Jews stick together, and that's how they get the better of the Negroes.
The Jews had a different mental operating system. Solidarity was embedded deep within their culture. And Negroes, on the other hand, inherited one that was formed in slavery: division, distrust, and jealousy. A housewife whose husband works in the stockyards reports that
there is a Polish movement here that is very strong because they stick together. We don't. And I think Negroes would be better off if they did everything as a body.
Now, here's the kicker with this. Unity only works well if the individuals that make up the unit are stable. If too many members are unstable, then that unity becomes a hassle or dysfunctional. So it's not about unity for unity's sake. That's fantasy talk. The real key is unity with the right type of individuals, which means a lot of Negroes would have had to first do some inner work and reconfigure their mental operating system before unity could have been effective on the whole. Closely allied to this tendency to idealize the solidarity of other people is the tendency to idealize Negroes in other communities, to feel that they have accomplished more than Bronzeville Negroes. Thus, the proprietor of a tavern, after a trip to New York, compared Harlem with Bronzeville.
The Negroes in New York are united and do things for each other, not with their hand out for a payoff, but just because they are of the same race. These Chicago Negroes have not learned that.
Now, on the surface, this appeared to be true. Harlem looked like they had it going on at the time, and in a sense, they did. The Harlem Renaissance was a beacon of culture and of art. But that's the surface layer. When you peel back the onion, you see that they had similar issues as Bronzeville: class tension, the lower class issues, and distrust in leadership. Harlem was just glowing bright enough to cover the darkness. One unemployed laborer contrasted American Negroes with Negroes in other countries.
You know, I've seen colored people in many countries, but ain't none of them like the American Negro.
That's true, and it won't ever be. The American Negro is unlike any people that has walked the face of the earth because of the history. And this could be interpreted in a good or bad way. But the pure potential that's locked within because of that history and is waiting to manifest is also something that the world has never seen before.
He won't cooperate for nothing. In Cuba, the Negroes stick right together. And in Puerto Rico, the same. See, I've been in the army, and I've traveled plenty. I'm 54 years old now, and when a Negro walks up to me, I can more or less figure out what kind of fella he is. This is the only country where Negroes don't stick together. Instead of Negroes trying to help each other here, they cut each other's heads off. The American Negro ain't no good.
This type of thinking helps reinforce and cement these negative ideas to the Negro name. You got hundreds of years of imagery and concepts that were already attached to the name in the collective unconsciousness. And these words feed that history. And they're running wild in the background of people's mental operating system. Every insult becomes a new line of code in the program. Many of the less sophisticated people are likely to express this plea for unity in semi-religious or mystical terms. Thus, a number of lower-class women were heard to make the following comments.
They will never amount to very much unless they learn to love each other more and more as the days and years go by. Then things will be better for us some sweet day. If the time will ever come when we colored people will feel that when one of us is in trouble, all of us are in trouble, and when we learn to have more confidence in one another and feel that after all we are just one great big family, then we will be able to go places and do things. Well, I think the whole thing wrong with the Negro is he just doesn't have brotherly love, just plain brotherly love. We ought to love one another like brothers and sisters.
Same Ferris wheel, different riders. Same story, different era. The majority of the people, however, are very matter-of-fact about it. They just think Negroes need to stick together more. They will say,
I believe that the thing that holds us back most is the fact that we are given to being jealous of one another.
that's what prevents unity. It's the barrier that bars the door.
If one seems to be making a success, the others try to stop his progress. We lack the one quality that will make us a great people, and that is unity and cooperation. I have made a study of the Negro problem, and I find that up to the present time there is no real solution. The one thing that holds us back more than anything else is lack of unity. It seems that we hate to see each other get ahead, and instead of helping, we always hinder.
So it does two things when people talk like this. One, it names the issue, which is important, because without naming the issue, it can't be pinpointed. But another thing that it does is it reinforces the wound at the same time. What do I mean? When people say things like Negroes never or Negroes always, and they couple it with negative associations, then it programs it deeper into the group's collective identity. So the language locks in the frame which reality is perceived. And that kind of power can chain or free a people, depending on how you use it. Sometimes it is the class system that Negroes denounce as the source of disunity. Thus, a Pullman porter complains,
The greatest trouble is Negro against Negro. The Negro don't believe in the future.
Now listen to that. Negroes don't believe in the future. That's more code being written and deepening the program. The language is doing that. The more people say it, the more it weaves the matrix around the mind until people act it out as if it were true.
The educated Negro in this city comes first, the laborer last. That's bad.
Criticism of leaders is particularly widespread. Most frequently, they are assailed for not getting together, for not presenting a united front and a program to the white majority. Sometimes the criticism is a calm statement, such as,
I believe our leaders should get together. Social club leaders and leaders of our race in all walks of life should get together and fight for our rights and the things we are entitled to in general. It does look like to me that our leaders could get together and do something for the colored people in Chicago. If our supposed to be leaders would get together, they could change many present conditions in Chicago and teach many of us that don't know how to live what to do and why to want to live. I don't feel the Negroes are grasping every opportunity. I feel this is because the leaders are, in a way, betraying the race. They are not interested in the race as a group, but only so far as the race can help them as individuals.
they claimed it was true back then, just like it's said to be true today. And we'll leave it at that for now. I thank you for your time and attention. My name is Brooklyn St. Michael, and I'll see you in the free world.